16 horses, it's firing line. Dortmund is down at the rail as they come into the final furlong. American Pharaoh, firing line, not done yet. And these two come into the final 16th. It's American Pharaoh in front, firing line. Dortmund is third, Frosted is fourth. Coming to the finish, American Pharaoh and Victor Espinoza have won the Kentucky Derby. Firing line was second, Dortmund was third, Frosted finished fourth. In a final time, Pharaoh has pulled away to a 2.5 length lead over Divining Rod. And then it's Dortmund, tail of Verve, a huge long shot, is making a move on the far outside. But American Pharaoh is all by himself. He is 5 lengths in front as they come to the wire. And American Pharaoh and Victor Espinoza have won the Preakness over Tail of Verve. And then it was Divining Rod. Dortmund ended up third. Victor Espinoza and Bob Baffert get yet another
And that's the big question. The horse that we just watched win the first 2 legs of the Triple Crown, will he be, American Pharaoh, entrenched in Triple Crown lore like that horse, the mighty Secretariat, the 1973 Triple Crown winner, draped in a blanket of white carnations, in which the winner will get, in addition to that August Belmont Memorial Cup. The scene is set as Richard Migliore and Jason Blewitt join you here on this Belmont Stakes preview edition of Belmont Insider. We have a simple 6-word phrase: where else would you rather be?
No place. I can't even imagine being anyplace else. I was here as a boy for Seattle Slew and Affirmed, and here I am as an older gentleman looking to see history again in our 12th Triple Crown winner. And Jason, I got to say, I think American Pharaoh is going to do it.
Belmont Stakes number 147, a Grade 1. It is the third, final, longest, and oldest leg of the Triple Crown. A field of 8 will go 1.5 miles, 1 lap around this gargantuan main track at beautiful Belmont Park. Field of 8, the shortest field in a Belmont Stakes since Big Brown back in 2008. Here he is, American Pharaoh, who arrived in the Big Apple on Tuesday. He has trained forwardly in the days after the Preakness and galloped energetically over Big Sandy Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
And I think this is just a great illustration of just how impeccable his stride is. He just has such a beautiful way of going. He's got that short tail. You know, it's interesting to watch. You see a lot of good horses kind of have that long tail. I think it was Whirlaway was called Mr. Longtail. Well, this is Mr. Short Tail, and that was a Triple Crown winner. Hopefully this will be a Triple Crowner, and maybe that's one of the reasons why American Pharaoh likes to slop so much. He's not picking up a lot of that mud in his tail, weighing him down.
Well, he doesn't pick up any mud whatsoever, I'd say, wet or dry. He just skips over. And that's one thing you talked about last season when this horse was running out in Southern California. The way he moves, it's just so efficient with no wasted action whatsoever.
Yeah. His efficiency is the key, too. And I know a lot's been made of his pedigree on his mother's side. She was a sprinter, more of a sprint pedigree. But he reminds me more of the Empire Maker side of his family. His father, Pioneer of the Nile, being by Empire Maker, a Belmont Stakes winner. And the fact that this horse, Jason, has actually gained some weight through the Triple Crown tells me that he's not being ground down by the rigors of the Triple Crown. He's actually flourishing.
It seems he's as cool as his Hall of Fame trainer, Bob Baffert, who has made a name and become almost a modern-era Ben Jones. Bob was at Belmont Park all week, and he talked about what will happen and how important the break in the Belmont will be.
I think the ideal case scenario, he has to break. I want, break cleanly, break freely, and just have Victor just put him in his comfortable mode where he's comfortable with him. And so, but, the break, it's very important. You've seen a lot of horses here. It's a deep, sandy racetrack, so the footing away from the gate can be a little bit treacherous sometimes. So that's going to be important. And so, he knows the horse pretty well now. So it's a short field, so it's not like, I'm sure they'll all be pretty close together.
So Bob Baffert, cool, calm, and collected in that interview, and it's quite amazing, Big. This is not the first, not the second, not the third, but the 4th time he has come to Belmont Park with a shot at taking the Triple Crown.
That's incredible in itself, but I think you made the right analogy. He is the modern-day Ben Jones. His record in Triple Crown events and being able to prepare these colts for this has been phenomenal, and I think he's been unlucky not to get it done yet.
Unlucky might be the right phrase prior to American Pharaoh, in a way. for his owner and breeder, Ahmed Zayed. So many close calls in classic races. Second in the Belmont with Painter, second a few times in the Kentucky Derby. But I think this man, he represents a lot of things, but what comes to mind is the American dream.
Well, and that consistent pursuit of it. They've just been nibbling around the edges, and this year they break through, and they might break all the way through.
And how about the communal experience on a big day rooting for a big-time horse? Here's Ahmed Zayed.
Can't wait for the race, and I hope I will set, or the horse will set the track on fire. 90,000 rooting for him in New York. It would be fun, and I hope, listen, something that is entrenched in my memory, because I have not been in racing for a very long time. I can't tell you the buzz and the feeling when we saw Zenyatta in the Breeder Cups Classic coming in Santa Anita, and my little one, who was my youngest daughter, who was not really so much into racing, one of the member of my family, and seeing the great, and everybody, you get a goosebump, everybody cheering. I wish that feeling in New York, where we are from New York, in the Big Apple, making history. That's something I hope that we can see.
Invested a lot of time, money, patience into this game, and it's being rewarded with Ahmed Zayed, who's built up a little empire which seems to be growing with each passing full crop.
Well, and I think he articulated so much what hooks most of us on racing. There's a defining moment, a race, a horse, some event at the track that makes you addicted to it and want to come back time and time again.
And for you, you've talked quite often over the last few weeks about Affirmed, who remains the last of the 11 Triple Crown winners from 1919, and Sir Barton, who was the first Triple Crown winner through Affirmed, capping that golden era of the 1970s. There you go, that exclusive club of 11. We've said it before, we'll say it again. It'd be nice to make it at even 12.
It really would, and you know, interesting being a kid in the 70s, hearing before Secretary it had been 25 years to citation, and people saying it's too tough, they've got to change it, they've got to make it easier. And then after the 3 Triple Crown winners capped with Affirmed in this incredibly pitched battle against Aladar, his arch rival, by the end of the 70s saying it's too easy, they got to make it tougher. You know what, it is just what it's supposed to be. It's hard, and it takes a special kind of horse to get it done, and hopefully we're going to see that tomorrow.
We hope that's the case. It'd be nice to have another placard commemorating the 2012 or 2015 Triple Crown winner next to the mighty Affirmed. Now, we have seen quite a few horses in the waning years post-Affirmed. 14, in fact, have won the Kentucky Derby and the Preakness. 13 have made it to the starting gate in the Belmont Stakes. And the common thread, all 13, even though a few ran second, did not win.
Yeah, they came up short, but they ran well, most of them. War Emblem obviously stumbled badly at the start. One of BAFFERT's was compromised. Funny Side couldn't stay the mile and a half. Smarty Jones ran a winning race. He got beat by Birdstone. And California Chrome last year, I thought he had lightened up between the Preakness and the Belmont. And, you know, he came up a bit short. He had his chance turning for home. Couldn't find that little extra that he had been able to find. Although I go back, California Chrome never won a race where he wasn't firmly in front by the time they turned for home.
Wound up dead heating for 4th in last year's Test of the Champion behind a horse in Tonalist, who we will be privileged once again to see compete on the Belmont Stakes undercard in the $1.25 million Naira.com Metropolitan.
And just another one of the great races that we have to support the Belmont Stakes.
Let's move back to trainer Bob Baffert, who's been here before. 4th time at taking down the Triple Crown. He has got closer than anybody in defeat. You can't help but think of Real Quiet back in 1998. And here is Bob Baffert to talk about his Triple Crown exploits.
You still need a great horse. And those horses that won it, they were great horses. So I think it's, you know, there's when I got beat a nose. I came the closest, and you can say, well, maybe this or that. But you know what? He turned for home. He was in front by 5, and he's in front before the wire. He's in front after the wire. So you get beat. That's a nasty Bob. And so those things happen, and you scratch your head like, how can that be? Go a mile and a half, and you get beat by a couple inches. It's just not, you know, it's just, how do you can't write that. So I just look at it like, you know, it's just, you know, the horse ran well. I mean, as long as the horse runs well and he shows that he's, you know, turning for home, he's in the race. You know, a lot of them you can tell down the backside they're just not running. I know War Emblem, he was never a factor at any time. He made a little run, but I knew it was just he wasn't going to do it. Silver Charm, he ran hard. I mean, he was running with some. It was the Derby. You had Free House, Captain Bodgett, and then Touch Gold came to the fray in the Preakness, and then it was just three really top, just battling away, and it takes, it's hard. Real Quiet had Victory Gallop. Victory Gallop turned out to be a really good horse. So, either one of them with a little luck. I mean, Victory Gallop had a bad luck in the Derby, came running. Then he ran second to us, and then he just came in. Gary Stevens just rode it tremendous. And I've been beaten by some ridiculous, tremendous rides by other jockeys. Chris McCarron on Touch Gold was a brilliant ride. Gary Stevens on Victory Gallop was another brilliant ride. So, and there's a lot of pressure on these riders that ride the Triple Crown. I mean, Victor might be acting like, oh yeah, I'm cool. Believe me, when he comes out there, he'll be, he has to be, I expect him to be nervous, So, but he knows that he has a lot of confidence in this horse, and I told him, it's not you. It's if I don't have him ready, it doesn't matter what you do. So my job is if he's ready, then he'll run his race, and if he's good enough, he'll get it done.
American Pharoah will be the 10th Belmont Stakes career starter for trainer Bob Baffert, who 3 years after suffering, and every time you watch that replay, you think Real Quiet might just hold off Victory Gallop. Well, Bob Baffert, 3 years, got his first and only Belmont Stakes win with the mighty Point Given.
And Point Given, another horse, even though he lost the Derby, so there was no doubt he wasn't going to win the Triple Crown, might have been a deserving Triple Crown kind of horse as well.
Now, Bob Baffert, coincidentally, his last Belmont Stakes starter 3 years ago, or just about 3 years ago, with the Zayadone Painter, who was a very gritty second behind Union Rags, and he'll be teaming up with the soon-to-be Hall of Fame rider Victor Espinoza, who was on the ballot this season, did not get in, but by virtue of winning yet another Derby and Preakness and perhaps a Triple Crown, I'd say he's assuredly going into the Hall in 2016.
He has to be a slam dunk, doesn't he? I mean, particularly after even if he doesn't win the Belmont and, gets the Triple Crown, I think he's got to be a slam dunk this year.
7 lineup against American Pharoah in the Test of the Champion. The competition runs deep. Todd Pletcher, there's the big guy. They will all be gunning for a horse that will have a target on his back. We'll talk about it when we come back. Belmont Stakes tickets are a mouse click away. Make the move. It's an easy game. Don't get shut out. BelmontStakes.com. $15 general admission tickets available. They will not be sold on track June 6th here at beautiful Belmont Park. We want you out here. You should be out here. And we're at a pretty good spot. It's the MIG. It's Jason. And hope you're having a terrific Belmont Stakes Eve. The Belmont Stakes standalone event, it's so much better when there's a Triple Crown on the line. Nothing like it.
Well, the electricity in the air, the excitement, and I'm just struck by $15 to see this card of racing and the potential of racing history.
How about this, though? Field of 8, shortest Belmont Stakes cast since 7 challenged Big Brown in 2008. You have 4 Hall of Fame riders in the mix. 4 of the 8 horses will be piloted by an iconic Hall of Famer.
Yeah, star power there. Guys that know how to win the big races.
Right. And Kent DeSormo, as we run down the list, will be aboard a long shot in Keen Ice. And Kent DeSormo has tasted victory in the Test of the Champion. He's also had the agony of defeat. He's got some pretty good stories, and he caught up with the MIG earlier in the week.
Kent, you ride Keen Ice in this upcoming Belmont Stakes, trying to play the spoiler at American Pharoah. You've been a major player in the Belmont Stakes, though. You won it with Summerbird, but you've had a couple of near misses. What's the key to riding this race?
Well, yeah, it's been an emotional roller coaster for me, the Belmont. I think the key that I've learned is just you can't expect them to do everything all at once. And I think I made Real Quiet wait to the quarter pole and then asked them to explode to the wire. And I think that was 2 mistakes in one race. When the experience through riding the races, you just try to smooth everything out.
Well, over the years, to come up just that short on Real Quiet, I'm sure you've relived it. Is there anything in your mind that you can pinpoint specifically that you would like to do over?
Oh, if we ran it 9 more times, I'd win the next 9. I think that the only moment in time that Victory Gallop was in front was that nose on the wire, and that's exactly when Real Quiet saw him again. I would do two things. First of all, I'd answer the thing that I just said. When he was pulling on me from the 5.5, which is going into the turn, which is where BAFFERT horses used to, they fall into that turn and they get in gear. Well, we're still 5.5 from the wire, so I made him wait. I should have just let him go. Not ask him. Just float with him. Just be his passenger. And then at the quarter pole, I had so much horse. I remember I looked over my shoulder. There was nobody around. And I said, yeah, let's go. And he exploded. And he went about 1/8 of a mile and just kind of said, hey, buddy, I won. I'm done. And I wouldn't do that either. I would just get to the quarter pole and, just kind of beg him to keep going. Not all at once. Stretches air out. And just, I've learned that on all of them. The Franco mount that I had, when McPeak beat me, I thought I waited and waited and waited, and that was the year right after Real Quiet got beat. I waited and waited and waited, and the winner got by me for 4 jumps, and then my horse re-engaged. Well, if I'd have just gone on with him, asked him to, just getting that momentum, getting that gear, he would have won as well. So lots of life's lessons, and I hopefully will take him to the track this weekend.
Well, you're speaking of Medaglia d'Oro there, but now you've been in the position Victor's in, and you understand the pressure he's feeling, but what do you think you need to be able to do to beat American Pharoah?
Well, I think the whole human element is going to be involved, first of all. Everybody in their mind is going to think, well, I got to save for 1.5 miles. So Keen Ice is going to naturally already be closer. And if they do go, well, then they're not going to get the 1.5 miles. So I'll win again. So it doesn't matter if you have a GPS map and you're making your way to your location. Whatever map you take, it's better for Keen Ice.
All right, you sound confident. You've never lacked confidence. Best of luck.
Well, I plan on winning.
Nicely done, Mig, with Kent DeSormo, who always gives a good interview. Very illustrative, and here is Kent's lifetime record. A Hall of Fame rider enshrined back in 2004 in Saratoga Springs, and he is 1 for 8 in this race. But he's really tasted, as Ken alluded to, the highs and lows of the Test of the Champion.
Yeah, the 2 seconds, Real Quiet, Medaglia d'Oro. But I forgot that he was the rider on Freehouse in between Silver Charm,
and Touch Gold.
Touch Gold, excuse me. Yeah, thank you. I always can rely on you to pull me out at the last second. But if it wasn't for McCarron's brilliance that day and using Freehouse as a buffer between him and Silver Charm, I don't think we might have already had this Triple Crown winner.
And Kent DeSormo, a guy that you kind of forget was aboard Big Brown as well, going for his second shot at a Triple Crown on that blazing hot, sultry summer afternoon in early June back in 2008. Yeah. It didn't work out, but he will be doing his best, knowing Big Sandy, to pull the upset on Saturday.
Well, and like I said, he does not lack confidence.
Indeed he doesn't. Let's move on to trainer Todd Pletcher, who I don't think needs confidence at this point. He is well on his way to securing an 8th Eclipse Award as champion trainer. He's won the Belmont Stakes a couple of times, and I think couple is the key phrase as he runs a pair of horses. Here's the stronger of the Pletcher pair, Materiality, the Florida Derby winner, who I think caught a lot of people's attention in the Kentucky Derby.
And Materiality, extremely talented. Here he is winning the Florida Derby in the 3rd start of his life, which is a huge accomplishment in itself. Get a horse that doesn't have a lot of seasoning. I have a hard time seeing him win the Belmont in his 5th start, but if he can win the Florida Derby in his 3rd start, why not?
Showed, I've got to think he gained a lot of experience out of his effort in the Run for the Roses, and here's more of a grinder in Made from Lucky, who beat a lesser field than the foes he encounters in the Belmont, but he won the Peter Pan locally over this main track.
Well, and the Peter Pan has turned into a major prep for horses pointing for the Belmont Stakes. We saw it work last year for Tonalist, and I think the key, what you just said, is grinder. Grinder types are more successful in the Belmont Stakes because they stay on, even if it's just at one pace, and they get the 1.5 miles.
2 is better than 1. Todd Pletcher looks for his 3rd career win in the Belmont Stakes, and he caught up with the MIG moments after the draw on Wednesday.
Here with Todd Pletcher, who has 2 runners in the Belmont Stakes, Made from Lucky, the Peter Pan winner, and Materiality, who had a tough trip in the Derby. Where do you expect both of your horses to be laying in the early part of the race?
Well, I think Materiality, hopefully with a clean break, and we're going to try to ensure that we'll be close to the pace, or maybe on the, maybe the leader, depending on what American Pharoah does.
Well, if American Pharoah does go to the lead, do you leave it up to Johnny when to attack or keep him honest?
Well, I mean, we're going to keep him honest. We're going to come out. I think it's going to be up to them to decide how fast they want to go. With a Triple Crown at stake, you wouldn't think they'd want to get in a speed duel. So we'll come out running and see what happens.
Materiality looks like he's been training well since the Derby. Do you like what you see from him?
I do. He's training very well. Seems to like the main track at Belmont. I think the 1.5 miles will suit him.
Made from Lucky, Peter Pan winner. We've seen the Peter Pan winner win the Belmont several times last year with Tonalist. He'll be lurking in behind them someplace.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have the natural speed the Materiality does, but I think he can get into a comfortable rhythm and keep kind of grinding away, which, sometimes that's an effective way to run a 1.5 miles. So we won't take away anything that comes easy to him, but at the same time, I wouldn't expect him to be real close.
Best of luck, Todd.
Thank you.
Lifetime resume for Todd Pletcher in the Belmont stands at 2 for 18. Couple big second-place finishes at big prices in recent years. Stay Thirsty and Commissioner come to mind, and it does sound like Todd Pletcher is going to be pretty aggressive with Materiality.
Yeah, Todd was very forthcoming about that. He says, we're coming out running. They're going to have to figure it out. I like that attitude. He's going in to win. He's not going in just to be a part of the party.
12 years since a Wood Memorial winner has worn the white carnations. Talking about Empire Maker, who won the Wood in Belmont in 03. Here's this year's Wood winner, Frosted, for Kieran McLaughlin.
Well, Kieran McLaughlin finished 4th with Jazzle in the Kentucky Derby. He came back to win the Belmont Stakes after skipping the Preakness, going the same route with Frosted. I actually think Frosted's a little more talented of a horse than Jazzle. But I also think this field's a little bit deeper than the field Jazzle had to face.
Potential pace concern you at all with Frosted, potentially with the front runners, whether it's American Pharaoh and Materiality, loping around for 1.5 miles?
Well, I think the pace is going to be honest. I don't think it's going to be fast, but I don't think it's going to be slow. I think Materiality is the key to the race. How early he engages American Pharaoh and where the race starts to heat up.
First Belmont Stakes starter for the world-renowned South African trainer Michael de Kock, who's won big races all over the globe. Mubdahij is his Belmont entrant, who has recorded 6 workouts in 20 days here at Belmont.
Yeah, and he's not going to be a short horse with that work tab, but I enjoy seeing that, Jason. There's more than one way to train a horse. It's not a cookie-cutter thing. He knows what this horse needs. He's a world-renowned horseman, and I think Mubdahij is going to get a similar trip that he got here in the UAE Derby. Now, I don't know if the horses are the same, but he's going to be drafting in behind horses from the rail. He takes the kickback, and the track in Dubai is very sandy. They call this Big Sandy, so I don't think he's going to have an issue with the surface.
This will be his Belmont debut, obviously. He's coming out of that 8th-place finish, as Mig mentioned, in the Kentucky Derby. Is it a positive? And I get 1.5 miles on the dirt is one end of the extreme, but they switched from Christophe Soumillon to a local rider in Irad Ortiz.
Well, I think it's a trade-off. Christophe Soumillon has some familiarity with the horse, although Irad Ortiz has worked him here, but you're getting a guy who's comfortable in the space. He rides here, and he's riding extremely well here. I kind of like the change.
Of the other bombs, real fast, Taylor Verve, Fermento, do they catch your eye for any particular reason?
Taylor Verve made a really good physical impression here this whole week, and I think off of looks, you got to like him a little bit.
How about the undercard? What a day of racing. Breeders' Cup in early June, first Saturday in June. Will American Pharaoh join that cast out in the Belmont infield? We find out the waning daylight hours of Saturday afternoon. Richard Migliore and Jason Blewitt with you here on this Friday at beautiful Belmont Park. We'll get some new silks out in that Belmont Park infield gazebo. We have Tonalist and his owner, Robert S. Evans, and Tonalist will be showing his stuff against a world-class field in the Met Mile, and Ira.com Met Mile.
And speaking of Triple Crown, what a trilogy that would be for Tonalist. The Belmont Stakes, the Met Mile, and the Gold Cup. I mean, wow. That's history-making.
The traditional prelude to the Belmont Stakes is the $1 Million Knob Creek Manhattan, my favorite turf race on this circuit. Big field, maybe not a vintage year regarding a standout star, but it'll be a great betting race.
It will be a great betting race. Magic Artist is interesting to me, Jason. He only beat 2 lengths to See the Moon over in Germany, and he would look pretty good in here.
Another $1 million purse in the Grade 1 Ogden Phipps. She will be single fodder for many, 2 to 5 on the Eclipse Champion Untappable.
Yeah, but she's got to go out and do it. They don't pay off just because of the odds, but she looks like a standout.
And it's a deep field as we go from the 2 to 5 shot and odds on Untappable to a much more well-rounded cast in the Acorn 3-year-old fillies and a classic here at Belmont.
I like seeing Condo Commando get back to a one-turn race. I think that's where she excels, and I think the mile is perfect for her.
How about the Longines Just a Game? $700,000 purse. A race big over the last few years has turned into a can't-miss spot in this division.
And you got some interesting horses. Coffee Click trying to make it back-to-back just the games. And Discreet Mark, we love her around here, the New York bred who just keeps on grinding it out.
We have a deep respect for the Gray Millionaire, New York bred Discreet Mark. We also have a deep respect for our co-analysis. That is Andy Serling and Maggie Wolfendale. They are clashing in the NYRA.com Met Mile. That's Andy Serling and Maggie Wolfendale. Let's send it on down and find out who's good in the Metropolitan.
Thanks a lot, guys. Well, a lot of great races on Saturday's card, and really none take second stage. I know that American Pharaohs go over the Triple Crown. Obviously, that's the big story, but the Met Mile is one of the great Met Miles of all time. You got speed, you got closers. I prefer closer types in this race, and I think Tonalist is the horse to beat. He's just in great form, loves Belmont Park, a logical horse, but I like Wicked Strong. Wicked Strong has shown that he can run just as well as Tonalist at times, and the cutback from 1.25 miles to a mile is going to suit him perfectly. I hope that Wicked Strong drops well back in this race, makes a big run, and I think he can get the best of everybody in here. I'm scared of Tonalist. I'm scared of Honor Code. I'm always scared of Bayern, but I think Wicked Strong may take this Met Mile.
Here for the Belmont Stakes version of Paddock Insider. Although I'm not going to go for the big race, I think there's another big race on the card, and that is the NYRA.com Met Mile. And, you know, call me trite here or a chalk-eating weasel, if you will, but Tonalist in this spot looks so good. He also looked very good schooling here on Thursday. He just looked like an absolute beast, much the same as when he won the Westchester. And yes, this field does get a bit deeper, but I think he's up for the challenge. And furthermore, he's undefeated here at Belmont, so he obviously loves Big Sandy. So it's Tonalist, your Paddock Insider for Saturday. Guys, back to you.
Thank you very much, Andy and Maggie, and you'd be hard-pressed to find a deeper NYRA.com Met Mile than the one that will be assembled here Saturday afternoon. In addition to Tonalist and Wicked Strong, how about Bayern, who's trying to get a big double for Bob Baffert, a Met Mile and a Triple Crown and Belmont Stakes on the same card?
Well, Bayern is obviously extremely talented, but he's never shown the ability to overcome adversity. He's going to face some adversity because he's in with a lot of speed and a deep, tough field.
That is a can't-miss race on a can't-miss day of racing. BelmontStakes.com for those $15 general admission tickets. It's going to be an amazing test of the champion. Do we get that 12 Triple Crown winner? We'll find out. 6:50 p.m. is post. For the Big and I, thank you for joining in. Have a great Belmont Stakes day.